right. Ladies and gentlemen, I remember years and years ago when I was studying English literature, there was a poem by a guy named Goldsmith who talked about the man who stole the goose off the common and who got arrested, but who arrested the man who stole the common from out of the goose? Well, we have such thieves at work in our society today, and we got an amazing story about it. But before I get into that story later on in this program, I just want to tell you, the scam about global warming is expensive. Now, here are the figures. From 2001 to 2014, the federal government spent $131 billion to fight climate change caused by humans, along with $176 billion in tax breaks. Now, the European Union plans to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. It would cost $100 billion by 2020. And all in all, during this century, we will spend $7 trillion on what looks like a scam. Somebody is stealing the common from under the goose. And you are the goose. So I'm going to tell you how they're trying to cook your goose. You don't want to miss it. And by the way, get out those long johns and those sweaters that Aunt Minnie gave you for so many birthdays and stuff that you couldn't wear. Snow in the summer, frozen lakes in June. We may indeed be getting climate change, but not global warming. We've got global cooling in your future.
The United Nations will meet next week and tell us once again that the Earth is heating up, even though the temperatures clearly show that it isn't. Dale Hurd has the story.
It's already snowing, and one of America's premier weather forecasters is warning that for parts of the U.S., another bad winter is on the way.
It's going to be a major winter for much of the eastern and southern part of the United States. We think it's a formidable winter, but the core of the worst cold relative to averages, instead of being in the northern plains and Midwest, will be further south and east.
Last winter was bad too, historically bad. The Great Lakes weren't ice-free until June, when the Mountain West was still seeing snow. But the UN keeps warning us that if we don't do something to stop global warming, the end is near.
The report confirms that the effects of human-caused climate change are already widespread and consequential.
But what effects from climate change? The Earth stopped warming 18 years ago, and the weather has made a mockery of climate change predictions. The number of extreme weather events are down. Sea levels are not rising dangerously. And not only is Antarctic ice not melting, it's the largest it's been since measurements began 35 years ago. But world leaders, including our president, still act like climate change is a serious problem.
Climate change is already affecting Americans all across the country, in every region, although in different ways.
This is called a climate scream. It's similar to a primal scream, except it's done by radical environmentalists demanding world leaders do something to stop climate disaster. But the real disaster has been the inaccuracy of all those scary predictions that didn't come true.
By last count, there were 42 separate explanations in the scientific or public literature on why it hasn't been warming. When there are 42 explanations for some one phenomenon, I can tell you what that means. Scientists don't know what they're talking about. There's a real problem with the computer models for climate change.
Why has the Earth stopped warming? One reason, cooler surface temperatures in the Pacific.
One of the major cycles of the Earth, the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, which is a temperature cycle in the North Pacific Ocean. It's gone into a cool phase about 2005. The sun has moved into a cool phase in terms of sunspots.
WeatherBell's Joe Bastardi is forecasting a long-term trend toward colder temperatures.
Over the next 20 to 30 years, I think the general trend is down, back towards where it was in the late 70s.
The 1970s was when some were warning of a coming ice age. Yet President Obama thinks the problem of global warming is so urgent, he's reportedly been plotting to make an international climate deal without gaining U.S. Senate approval as required by the Constitution. But the president may be lonely when he attends next week's climate summit in New York. A number of world leaders aren't coming. Perhaps they're afraid of looking silly. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Okay, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. They are the true facts. The Antarctic has got more ice than they've ever had since we began taking measurements. It isn't melting, it is growing faster. And it's going to be one cold weather. I've seen one report that indicated maybe 5 times as much snow this year as we've had in the past. You see, what are they doing? Here's the game. These socialists and progressives, or whatever they're called, want to take control of the economy, the global economy. They want huge government to manipulate all that's being done. And so if they can scare people with this monstrosity of climate change, they will have a chance to get more money. Now, we're talking about trillions of dollars that are going into this nonsense. And, you know, people in colleges that don't go along with it, they aren't allowed to teach. They're not given promotions. They're not given tenure and so forth. But it's all a scam, ladies and gentlemen. It is in order to get control of the basic industries, get control of carbon, get control of coal, get control of oil and gas, fossil fuels, and all the rest of it, so that they can dominate one other part of the economy. That's the game. Don't let them play it on you. But again, I said at the beginning of this program, the whole scheme since the beginning of this century, $7 trillion in this fake science. You heard it here. Tell others.